Hey, Noelle. How are you?
Good, and you?
Good. So we're here today to talk about what 2024 has to bring us, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It seems like the things are changing. It seems like, where we don't have a lot of high numbers as people are expecting.
What do you mean?
When it comes to like interest rates and when it comes to values of the homes and things like that.
High numbers as in like you think people think that things are expensive right now, or that you think it's going to drop?
I feel like people think it's expensive right now.
Yeah. I think it depends on the way that you look at it. So obviously after COVID, the market definitely shifted. Home prices definitely did raise, and like us, we're here in Central Florida, and like what I always like to say is like we were fortunate enough to get away with living or having affordable housing this long, when in reality, Miami has been crazy. South Florida has been crazy. So like, I think it was only a matter of time before Central Florida started to pick up a little bit in terms of home prices, but also
definitely.
COVID was just obviously like a freak incident in history and everything, it was just a crazy time. And I think that, at least from what I've seen, I mean, you're a real estate agent, you're in the field more, but like from what I've seen, I feel like home prices are finally starting to settle. Like you're not seeing big jumps anymore.
No, yeah.
You're seeing things for reasonable prices now again.
Well, one of the things I've noticed too is that a lot of people are trying, because I do a lot of the new construction stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of those builders are trying to price it high, and then they have to do this.
They have to come down.
They have to come down $40,000 or something like that.
Well, because things aren't going for that anymore, and things are sitting a lot longer. Even things that are reasonably priced, I'm seeing them sitting. Like things that are, and when I say reasonable, it's reasonable
as in like
compared to what's just gone on for the last year or so. So no, I'm seeing things sitting a lot more, at least from what I'm seeing on my end. I'm seeing a lot of people getting houses at asking price or under. I've seen people getting a house $20,000 under asking price, whereas during COVID times, it was 10 offers on a house and there was multiple people willing to pay. If the house was listed for $500, I'll get it for $530. I'll do $540. I'll do all cash.
And a lot of
I won't get an appraisal. I won't, just like anything to outbid the other one. Versus now, I think it's amazing because of the fact that like there is little to no competition, because everybody has the same exact mindset. I'm scared. I'm gonna wait until interest rates drop. And
so what do you think about that?
Think about what? Where rates are gonna go? Drop. Well, I mean, they've dropped drastically in the last 4 months. I mean, last year was starting, I'll be honest, to get really scary. Like it was those like final 4-ish months or so where rates were in the 8s. Rates were in the mid 8s, and especially like where you were on credit, it was just crazy. So now, at least for an FHA loan, you're seeing rates back to the mid to low 6s. And
in history,
that's where they normally were.
In history, that someone said sometime that to me that I think in the 80s, that it had gone all the way up to 20%?
Yes.
22%?
Yes, like a credit card. Like
That's
a credit
crazy.
card. Yeah, but people were outraged over 7 and 8. And I understand. I mean, if you got spoiled.
They didn't live in the 80s.
Yeah, but I mean, if you didn't live in the 80s, you've never purchased a home before, and then all you know is what you see in the media of where during COVID times rates were 2 and 3. If you're hearing 8, it does sound crazy, but in reality, that was the norm before this. And I was even talking to you about this, that there was a study put out that they asked a bunch of consumers, what would it take for you to get back into the market? And everybody said a rate in the 5s, like 5s, low 6s, and we're back there now again. I mean, people, if they have a little bit of extra cash, they can do an interest rate buy down, and they're getting rates in the 5s again. So I think that right now where rates have gone, I'm surprised because with how extreme it got at the end of last year in the 8s, like I was like, man, like that this means another terrible few months of where even if it does start coming down, it's going to slowly drop. I'm actually surprised at how quickly it dropped.
Didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where are you seeing it right now, the national number, the national interest rate?
So for FHA, I'm seeing it starting in the 6s again.
Okay.
Obviously, credit plays a huge factor. So I feel like there's a common or a lot of people don't understand how interest rates work. So essentially, like if you log on to Mortgage News Daily, you can check that, and every single day, and I think even multiple times in the day, they update where the rates are at. But what they're not telling you is they're showing you where the rates are at for a prime borrower with amazing credit, 20% down and things like that. Because what happens is when you go to take out a mortgage, the bank wants to know a couple things about you. They want to know, where's your credit score? How much money are you putting down? What type of property? Like, for example, if it's a condo is more risky, so they're going to add a pricing adjustment because you're getting a condo.
Interesting.
Things like that. And essentially they spit out a rate they're willing to offer you for free based on your qualifications. So like now what you'll see.
So whatever, when they give you a number, when a lender gives a potential buyer that number, whatever they're going to pay, that's what they qualify for. But that same person might not, or another person might not qualify for the same
exact rate. Right. So that's why it's hard, because when you see a lot of promotional stuff out there, and like, for example, like you see it with new construction, you see in other places too, that you'll see like rates are in the 4s or what have you, you still need to qualify for that. And like, just because that person was able to get a 4 or 5 or what have you, doesn't mean that you with the 580 credit score is going to get offered the same thing, because you're not, you know?
Right. I have actually a builder right now offering 2.99%.
Yeah, with a temporary buy down though. So they're not advertising it that way. So like, that's another huge thing right now too, is like, let's say if you are extremely rate conscious and you want to get into the house and you want to feel the luxury of lower rate, something really popular right now is that temporary buy down. So it goes off of the starting rate. So let's say the starting rate was a 6 and you want to do one of those 3-2-1 buy downs. So that's year 1, what's 3 minus 6? 3. Year 1, we're at 3.5. Year 2, 4.5. Year 5, 5.5. And then years 4 through 30, you go back to that 6.5. And the idea behind it is, before rates ever get to that 6.5, you're able to just permanently refinance into one of those lower rates.
Right.
Yeah, but if rates don't change, now, yes, you got to enjoy for a couple of years that lower rate, but your mortgage payment is going to go up every single year. So I think it depends on your approach to it. I mean, the idea is to, like, hopefully 4 years from now, you're making a little bit more money to where the higher mortgage doesn't surprise you. But there are people that once that mortgage jumps now, they're not prepared to it. Either they've taken on more debt since they've closed because they got spoiled with the 2% rate. And they're like, oh, these are all the things I can afford. I can buy a new car because this is my mortgage. Now it jumps and the interest rate just keeps jumping. So I think it just depends. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is.
But you can refinance on something like that. And,
100%. And it doesn't just need to be new construction. You can do it anywhere. But you could do a temporary buy down, or you could do something called a permanent buy down, where it's just added into your closing costs. So like that same example, they give you a 6.5 for free based on your qualifications. And you're like, hey, I want to buy my rate down. What can I do? And then it's like, okay, well, if you want to drop to a 5.25, it's going to cost you $5,000, and it just gets added to your closing costs later on. You don't pay it up front. So yeah, there's different ways to manipulate the interest rate. And like I said too, like, no interest rate is the same. So if you go on Mortgage News Daily and it's showing you, hey, rate is a 6%, and now you come to me with your 580 credit score, you're putting the minimum down, you're you know, there's different risk factors too. And I'm saying, hey, based on Mortgage News Daily says 6.5, but based on all of your qualifications, you're getting like a 7. It's not that the lender is necessarily high. It's just because your scenario is different. And you're a riskier buyer.
Right.
So, and also rates change every single day. So like, I know that a lot of people think, oh, I need to shop with a bunch of different banks. There's really no point, because in reality, you can't lock your rate until you're under contract.
Got it.
And the only difference I will say is, like, in-house banks, like big banks, I don't want to say their names, I don't know if I get in trouble for it. But like big in-house banks, like everybody thinks, oh, I'm going to go shop with my bank, I house my money there, what have you. They're different because they truly can make up their own pricing because they're keeping everything in-house. So that's why a lot of the time you will see the rate is higher in an in-house bank than it is if you go with like a wholesale lender, you go through a broker, so they connect you to it. Well, you can't get a loan with a wholesale lender if you don't go through a broker like us, what we do. But rates are higher with those banks because of the fact that it's all in-house. It's their risk assessments. They're the ones holding the loans at the end of the day. And like, their bread and butter isn't mortgages, so they don't really care. And people trust them so much because it is their bank that they're like, oh, well, it's my bank. They're giving me the best thing out there.
So they're the perfect buyer out there, right? With the best credit.
It depends too, because like I said, like some of these banks, their bread and butter isn't the mortgage department, so they don't really care about charging you a higher rate because they know they're going to get the business regardless. Because everybody initially thinks, let me go shop with my bank.
Right.
They know the leads are coming in. They don't need any leads or anything like that. And two, a lot of people trust them solely off of that fact they are my bank, that they don't even think to go shop them.
Right.
So yeah, it just depends. But rates are a crazy thing. Like there's more than what people see on the internet. They don't understand what's going on in the background
and what it all includes when they qualify for it.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What about the market right now? What do you see it being like? Buyer seller's market, what are you feeling, what are you seeing right now off of like your everyday?
Yeah, I think it's in the middle. Like I think that it's not a buyer or seller's market because I think there's leeway on both sides right now. We're in a really, really good spot that, like, even though I know people are intimidated because they did hear about rates being in the 2s and 3s and even at 5s, they're still not satisfied or what have you, and they're just praying that things do drop to that point. Like
right now what I'm seeing too is actually and like I do the new construction, I don't do a lot of the resale, so but builders are giving a lot.
Yeah.
So it's giving that buyer more of the feeling of I have more flexibility. You know what I mean? I have more. They're giving a little bit more incentives. They're giving all that kind of stuff.
Well, not even just builders, but just a lot of lenders now are coming out with down payment assistance programs that did not exist.
Oh, yeah.
Like during COVID times, nobody did down payment assistance whatsoever because there was so much business going on. They weren't going to spend the time giving out their money to people. They also weren't going to spend the time to underwrite those loans or go through all the extra steps that come with that type of assistance. Those programs weren't around. Like, yeah, there was county down payment assistance, but again, nobody even thought to use it. It was just like few and far between because nobody wanted to deal with it.
Right.
And there were so many deals falling off the walls of cash, this, that, or whatever. You didn't need it.
Right.
Now, people are in a position where people still want to buy. They're intimidated by what they see on the internet and just like things. Prices have raised.
Right.
Interest rates have gone up in the last couple of years. So they're just intimidated in general, but they don't have money. Debt is at an all-time high right now. It is. Debt is at an all-time high to where they don't have the money. They need that type of down payment assistance, and lenders who never in a million years, they used to be like A-paper buyers only, that's all we want. Now they're like, hey, we have an in-house down payment assistance program just to try and drum up business and get people in the door and keep buying houses and realize that it is attainable. And even though the market isn't the perfect situation right now in somebody's eyes, I mean, I think it is never the right time to buy for every single person. I think it's very situational. Like it depends on your circumstance.
It's always the right time to buy for other people.
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm saying. It's very situational, like who can take advantage of what market. And like personally, I think that this market right now is an amazing time for first-time home buyers because of the fact that things are sitting. You're seeing concessions again, which is where the seller is giving you money to help with your closing costs, help for an interest rate buy down.
Yeah.
You know, things like that during COVID when deals were falling off the walls, it was, I'm not giving you anything. You're paying $30,000 over for my house, and you're giving me cash, and you're not going to do an appraisal.
They're just sitting
and
back
all
and
those
waiting.
things. Yeah, and they're just waiting for their house to sell. There was nothing to do. Versus now, they're like, I gotta get somebody in the door, so I'll give $5,000 towards closing costs. And realtors, that's why it's important to have a realtor on their side and not just be trying to either do it on their own or what have you.
Yeah,
and
they need someone to back them up and negotiate
on their behalf.
Look at that contract and make sure everything is covering their back.
Yeah. So you're able to get concessions. Homes are sitting. Homes are going at asking price or lower. Right. So really get into the home now. And then let's say if rates do drop back into the 2s and 3s, refinance out of it later. And it sounds cheesy when they're like, date the rate, marry the home.
Yeah, I was
going
to ask you about that.
I hate that saying. I hate it. I hate it. But if you can get into a house with little to no competition, get the seller to pay your closing costs. Rates are finally in the 5s again. If you're able to allocate a little bit of money towards a buy down, or if you just have amazing credit, you might get a 5. Do all that, refinance later on, no competition, versus everybody's sitting on the sidelines right now. Everybody's praying that rates drop or, that the market crashes or what have you, that if, God forbid, rates do drop into the 3s again or something like that, everybody's going to rush in and you're going to
All
go right
those
back to
hedge
putting
funds,
in
all those
20
big
offers on a
companies
house
buying it.
and taking months to go under contract, versus now people, you get pre-approved, you can be under contract in 30 days. You can have your home because you're in it. Easy.
Right. Now, tell me a little bit, because we had been talking about this, when it comes to getting a second opinion, right,
Yeah.
with a lender. You know, you go to a builder or whoever, right,
Yeah.
their own lender, and then you can provide a comparison and potentially even match that builder's options, correct?
Yeah. So sometimes certain banks, certain lenders, builders, what have you, they have additional fees that other people do not.
Right.
So like that's why it is important, because with these builders, yes, a lot of times they're offering to get you in the door. Hey, we're offering money towards a temporary buy down so you can get a 2%. That's the advertisement that you're seeing. Or hey, we're offering $10,000 flat towards closing costs or whatever you want to allocate it towards. But they're not telling you that they own all parts of the transaction, the title company, the lender, that, you know, everything. They built the house, you know, they made the money everywhere.
Yeah.
So as long as you agree to their terms, they're making their money somewhere. Like
it's evening out.
It's
somewhere.
no coincidence that every single person, every single builder is offering
somewhere
these
in their
incentives.
overhead and profit.
You think
over
that
here.
they're missing, like that they're losing out on money? Like there's a reason why they're able to do it for every single person that comes in the door, and it's because they're just making their money back in a different form. So like what I've seen is where their title company that they own, their title fees are higher than if you just went with a normal title company that every other lender uses. The title fees are less. Another thing that I've seen recently is now they'll add in something called a builder fee that didn't exist before.
Oh, interesting.
Builder fee didn't exist. What do you mean a builder fee? You built the house and you're making
You
money
already
off of
they
me
charge
buying
your
it.
percentage on top anyway.
Yes,
to make
you're
their
profiting
money.
regardless, but
Yeah.
now you're putting builder fee into their $6,000. That if you go with the normal lender, that does not exist. They're not charging you a builder fee. Just weird things like that. There are certain things that are specific to the community that we need to now put on our loan estimate as well. Like you'll see very popular right now is the CDDs in communities.
A lot
new
of construction.
And do you know what that is?
It's like a tax, or like another type of tax, right?
So what it is that
the builder is charging
took
for
out
their
a loan.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, took out
so
a
we're
loan
paying for their loan
to develop the land, to set up the sewage, you know, all of those things or what have you, and then in turn they just turn it back over to the consumer and it gets added to their tax bill.
Interesting.
Yeah, so like the CDD stuff, I need to now put on mine. That's not something I can avoid. HOA, if they have HOA fees
so
or whatever.
most CDDs have HOA too.
Yes, and I've seen some crazy stuff lately. I've seen $100 in HOA and $200, $300 in CDD.
Oof.
Yeah, no.
That's crazy.
So yeah, just different things. That's why it is. And like there are other times that I'll be 100% honest. I've seen good builder deals too, where like I've had someone bring me a loan estimate and I've tried to beat it, and I will call and be like, I can't. This is amazing. There are no holes in this. Everything that they're doing is awesome. And another popular one that I'll say to be weary of is the discount points that they're charging. So what they'll do is like they'll put, okay, we're getting you a 5% interest rate, but they're charging 4% in discount points, when in reality, every other lender can get you that same exact rate for 2% in discount points. And what it is they are the lender. So when they're saying they're charging you 4% in discount points, they're just pocketing the difference to where it is costing them 2% to get you that rate, but that extra 2 that you just agreed to and wired on closing day, they're pocketing that because they own the lender as well.
Interesting. And it's so awesome that they could just do that and nobody really knows.
Yeah, nobody understands because they own every single part, so they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. So what do you need? Let's say they go out and they get that opinion.
Yeah.
What information would you need from that buyer?
Loan estimate. You can ask every single lender if they're not a shady lender. If they refuse to send you the loan estimate, then you know there's something weird going on. Every single lender, every single bank, everybody has something on hand called a loan estimate, and it's the breakdown of the total fees. The
discount. I would have to ask for that.
No, they can ask for that as well. Yeah, in their initial pre-approval, they can even ask for it. Hey, can you send me a loan estimate? And it's the complete breakdown of discount points, title fees, things like that. The only thing that I'll say that some lenders can get sneaky with is like they'll put a rate on there and they won't put the discount points because technically they're not bound to it, and they could just say, hey, the market shifted, and I know I quoted you 6.5 yesterday for 0 discount points, but today, if you want me to lock you in, it's actually 2% in discount points. So that's the only thing they can really hide. Another thing that I've seen sometimes is like people will try and get skinny on things that they know are not going to be reality once they actually go under contract. So like I have the approach, I'd rather overestimate things and then your cash to close drop than surprise you once you're in underwriting, once you're under contract and there's earnest money on the line, and be like, just kidding, your costs are actually $5,000 more, and now people are scrambling going, where am I going to get $5,000? Or just upset, flat out upset that you just surprise them and it's going to cost them more. So I overestimate. So like, for example, when you're setting up your escrows, they'll ask for 2 months of homeowners insurance escrow or 4 months of tax escrow. I will do the tax escrow, one, for the amount of months that I know they're going to collect. A lot of other lenders will put 2 months when in reality they know that when title's setting up their escrow and title and the cash to close is getting balanced, they're going to ask for 6 months of escrow, but they'll put 2 because that reduces your closing costs right there, because you have to think about it, it's that many months times the amount of your taxes per month. So they'll do it there, or like they'll underestimate homeowners insurance. So like in reality, all of us are here in Florida. We know what homeowners insurance is going to run someone. But we know what it's going to run someone, maybe $170, $150 a month, just depending on how new the house is and everything else. But they'll put $90 in homeowners insurance. That you know that is not the case. You know that once they go under contract and we actually start getting quotes, it's going to be drastically higher. So now because at closing they require 1 year's premium up front. So if let's say you're quoting them a premium of $500 for the year, but in reality once that premium is actually $2,000 for the year, their cash to close just went up $1,500 right there alone. Same thing with the escrow. They're escrowing 2 months worth of $50 a month, but in reality, if it's $150 a month, now their cash to close just went up another $300. Things like that are ways that people will try and get skinny and sneaky and stuff. But I'm always honest too, and I'll tell them, hey, they put on here that this is going to be that, and I'm letting you know right now, it is not going to be that. So when I send them my loan estimate, it might look a little higher or slightly off, and it's because, again,
so they shouldn't be put off by the fact that you're trying to be more honest than the builder.
Exactly. No, and I have a lot of people
will run away from
not
that.
Even just builders, but even lenders. Like other lenders will do it, especially if you tell a lender, hey, I'm shopping you with another lender, then they'll do that kind of stuff where they'll get skinny versus me. I'll own it. I want you to be happy with me. I don't like confrontation. I don't like issues. I want a seamless process, and I want to be your friend in it, because I don't want you to remember me as the shady lender that screwed you in the middle of the process. Yeah, I got a transaction, you closed with me, but I screwed you, and you're never gonna use me again. You're not gonna recommend me to anyone or anything like that, and you'll only remember me as that person that did that to you. I'd rather be honest, and I'll own it on the phone with them. I'll be like, hey, I'd rather overestimate right now, and I know your cash to close is going to drop, than sit here and surprise you at the end. And people are grateful for it, and they're like, no, that's what I want. I don't want to be surprised and get told it's going to cost me more.
Definitely. No, I definitely agree with that. The buying process should be a smooth, especially for a first-time home buyer. You know how many people
transparent.
Because most people don't come to you. What would you say the percentage is of people who come to you with just the best credit?
Not a lot.
Right? So most of the time, it's a lot more difficult for that person to get qualified. And when they are, when you get them an approval, right? How many times is it that you have to go back and forth with paperwork and trying to justify things, right? So it's like my point is that at the end of the day, it's a lot better to make it honest for them, so it's not such a terrible buying process, because it can be that.
Well, a lot of people, like in my experience, like either they've purchased a home before, they tried to get approved before, what have you, and like people are just blown away at how transparent I am or how much I do involve them in the process. Because I do hear the horror stories that they're like, oh, when I bought my last house, I didn't know what was going on. Nobody said a word to me. They would just ask me for this document and give me no context and things like that. Versus like, I feel like people in their head might forget, hey, some of these people really have no idea what they're doing. And this is the biggest transaction they're going to make in their life. Inform them. It literally does nothing. And personally, I feel like that's why all of my transactions, like anybody who goes under contract gets to the closing table, because of the fact that like we're all on the same page. You know what you're doing.
Nobody's
you're not
wasting time.
Nobody's wasting time. And like, you know, sometimes people do pull out of a transaction simply because they're so turned off by the loan process. They're like, you know what, I'm done with this whole thing. Actually, I'm just going to walk away with it. I'd rather you feel comfortable and know what's going on, because like I said, it's a huge transaction. You need to know what's going on. I mean, like even with a car, like to me, I still have no idea what goes on in the background when you
No,
buy a car.
you never
when
know.
they do the mysterious
it feels like
walk
the
to the
Wall,
back.
Wall Street. They're back there like trying to hustle.
The mysterious little walk to the back, and they're like, "Great news!
Yeah.
I could do
I
this."
spoke to my manager.
Yeah, so like that, I definitely do. I need to find like a car salesman friend or something like that because I need to crack that industry. I want to know what goes on back there, but like on our side, I want to make sure that they're comfortable.
Definitely. Yeah. When I was buying my house in 2018, it was like that. It was this, this is me before I became, a real estate agent, and it was the communication was not on point. It was just, and it's first time home buyer. I had no idea what to expect. Nobody explained anything. They're like rushing me here, there, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is terrible. Yeah. So definitely understand that feeling. Well, thank you, Noelle, for meeting with me today and talking very casually about the home buying process and what to expect for 2024. 2024 is going to be an amazing year, I think, for the both of us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Sounds good. Bye-bye. I specialize in running to search for the best deal and the right home for you. So please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss out on all of the wonderful homes I post about every week. This is my videographer, my son, Champ Terrell. Got anything to say, buddy? Are you happy to be here?
Kinda, yeah.
It's a sunny, hot day, huh? We're sweating. It's hot out here.